Bauman with FailYourWay.com, and I'm being joined by Mark Ress with, what do we want to say, Ressonomics.com? Is that a good spot?
Ressonomics.com.
Yeah, since he's got the shirt on, Ressonomics.com. A lot of you might not even know who Mark is, although I guess, 23,000 Twitter followers might know who Mark is. Mark, and the reason I say that is because Mark is really not your typical guru. He doesn't really doesn't go around teaching the stuff. He just goes and does it, making 6, 7, I'm not sure, 7 figures a year. Yeah, I mean, it's got to be at least 7 figures a year because he just told me about $125,000 a month recently. So I'm sure he does at least 7 figures a year. Does a lot of it in virtual real estate, domaining. Some black hat stuff maybe that we'll keep off the record, but I wanted to talk to I want to talk to successful people about failure. So Mark, I want to talk to you about failure, but before we do that, just tell these guys a little bit, since there's a good chance that they might not know what you do. What would be like the kind of the core of what I do?
Well, right now, like I mentioned to people, about 70% of our income comes from the virtual real estate portfolio building. It's not just domaining, it's not just site flipping, it's building portfolios and then offloading those portfolios, just like you would stock investment or real estate portfolio. But in all that, I work with other marketers as a project manager, always as an independent contractor, no one's employee. I sleep in every day till about noon. I do my own thing. I don't do JV launches. I don't do affiliate marketing like that because I don't believe if you can't stand on your own 2 feet as a marketer, you have to always do the JVs. You're not a marketer. That was taught to me by someone else who makes lots of money than me. It's not for everybody, but in a nutshell, I guess virtual real estate, but I also do consulting. We do the offline gold stuff, CPA offers, affiliate marketing. There's a lot of different things there.
Okay. All right. Well, let's just jump right into it then. Tell me a failure. Tell me a biggest failure that you can tell. If I said, what's your biggest failure ever?
I could tell you $2.1 million I lost by trusting the wrong people in this industry, the opportunity, or I could tell you about not building lists back when 2005, 2006, when it was very easy to make money with AdSense. Sure, we were making tens of thousands of dollars a month. We had really good money coming in. We had those checks being driven up to our door by the DHL and FedEx and what have you, but we didn't build lists. So when the blogging and ping days were over, of throwing 40 pages out, start getting clicks through and making that money, we had the money. So one thing we learned, that hard lesson was A, don't trust anybody in this industry, and B, build lists. When you're in Tampa, Florida, you can hear the palm trees blowing in the background, so don't let that bother you. Focus on us.
That's funny because that means that your ADD got to you just like mine. I get distracted when things get too much.
People going, where the hell? What's all that noise?
We're in Tampa, Florida right now.
There's a blower in the background.
Apparently there's a hurricane coming any second. So we need to hurry. All right, so getting rooked over a couple $1 million doesn't sound like any fun either. How did you overcome that?
Well, after being very upset, you get so angry. Like how this happened to me, and you have a mortgage payment due and all this other stuff, and it was my fault. I was the idiot that trusted. And so how I got over it was, instead of getting that upset to being full of tears, I said, no man, I'm not going to let this defeat me, and turn that energy into taking action, kicking ass, taking names, that type of thing, and not letting anybody or anyone stand in my way. I don't care how big and famous they are. You know what? Like I said, in January, to be able to be with Steve Wozniak, multi-billionaire co-founder of Apple, have him say, come up to my room, get a business card, we could talk. I mean, how many people in the world can say that they've had that opportunity?
Right. Absolutely. So do you think, I'm asking everybody this, do you think you view failure differently than most people?
I do, and I teach this in part of I have like a 7-lesson thing that I never read in order. But one of them is, the whole idea that failure is, if you look at it that way, then yeah, it's a mistake and it ruins your life type of thing, and you're all depressed about it. But what I try to teach people is that don't call it failure, it's a lesson learned in how not to do something. I didn't invent that, I didn't come up with that. But if you look at Edison, how many times he failed at the light bulb, he just learned how many ways not to do it. The guy that gave up 3 inches or an inch away from hitting that gold mine, that vein of gold, look what happened. He was a bigger failure because someone came in right behind him and struck gold, like a massive vein of gold. So I always tell people, if you turn it into a lesson and it's not a failure, don't let it defeat you. Because my life was a big failure. I should have been better in jail by the time I was 18 to 21. The way I grew up, where I grew up, East Los Angeles and all that. So, in all respect, I should be a big failure.
Well, and you don't hide the fact that you're tell them what your roots are, because they didn't just get to see you speak.
Oh, I grew up in East Los Angeles. It was harder on me because being mixed with Native American, a little Polynesian, Papago Apache Indian. My mom's Coras Bichol, and growing up in East Los Angeles is very difficult. My wife is black, and being in a biracial relationship and marriage early on was very difficult. So where I grew up, you should be dead or in jail by the time you're 18 to 21. And so I was able to come up out of that because someone took me aside and said, you're a thinker. In every society, we have aristocrats and we have soldiers and thinkers. You're a thinker. Your life is going to mean something. You're going to affect people's lives. So get out there and make it happen. And so I took that opportunity because he basically took the gun out of my hand. They had shot my cousin. And so I felt like I had to go enact revenge for him. And he said, no, I don't want you throwing your life away on this. We'll take care of it. And so from then, I went and became an X-ray technician. Then I started getting paid top dollar to set up, multi-million-dollar teleradiology networks. Children's Hospital of Los Angeles, LA County General, St. Jude's Medical Center, the Veterinarian Hospital in Fort Collins, Colorado. These were all my clients at one point. I've worked for Fujifilm, I've worked for Intel Corporation, and this is the same guy that should have been washing cars, picking your fruit,
at best,
working at the market, who knows what, dishwasher. People told me I was always going to be a failure. I was a wannabe. Oh, you're not going to make money doing computers and the internet. What a waste. Because we're programmed to think we have to be 9-to-5 workers. In my family, in our culture, we need to be worker bees. And my mom that was one thing that hurt me about my mom. She always said, you're a dreamer. Mm-hmm. Get your head out of the clouds and get back to reality. You're a dreamer. But I learned not to get angry, but to turn those things into motivation.
Right.
That's the sweetest revenge of success.
Well, and our moms and family do that to protect us. They think
totally
it's to protect us. They don't want to see their baby get hurt
right.
by all this dreaming, and you're going to end up on the street if you keep dreaming.
Right.
And I always wonder, do you think you got the failure is a lesson from anywhere, or did it just start happening?
I know I heard it somewhere or saw something about, I think it was actually, a sermon that my young cousin did in church. He's a youth minister. And they were talking about, Christians falling down, backsliding, and feeling like they're failures. I think that's where it came from. And he gave all these scenarios about the gold mine guy and Edison, how many times did Edison fail at creating a light bulb? If he failed, I think Edison, that's what it was. Edison's words were, I didn't fail 2,000 times or whatever.
10,000, I think. Yeah.
I didn't fail 10,000 times. I just learned 10,000 ways not to do it.
Right.
And that I was like so powerful.
Right.
And my cousin bringing this up many years ago in a church, full-on church. He was a youth minister. His dad threw him up there, and he taught this powerful lesson about, failing at being a Christian.
8 minutes.
I'm not perfect. I'm not perfect, but like I tell people, just do your own thing. Don't let people, call you a failure, or let them call you that and use that as fuel. Because bottom line is, until they walk a mile in your shoes, success is the sweetest revenge. You'll show and prove. Actions speak louder than words.
Yeah, and then they'll be calling you wondering how you did it. So, speaking of how you did it, we're gonna go ahead and talk about. We're gonna ask you some money making secret, a traffic secret, a couple other questions along those lines. But that is only for members only. So this has been Harris Feldman and Mark Ress with FailYourWay.com. Thanks a lot, Mark.